Hello. Thank you for your invitation and congratulations for all what you do here. This is very fascinating. I have been asked by Bhumi to speak with you during these 10 minutes about the question of child and adolescent mental health services in low and middle income countries and the way forward. First of all, we have now a good idea about the burden of disease of mental health disorder. We have recent data from 2010 which shows that on the planet, globally, mental and behavioral disorder are in the third position about burden of disease. And we know that this is underestimated because this burden of disease are obtained only on the short term, while most mental disorder in child and adolescent raise issue on the short, middle, and long term. And second, then you see on the second position you have unintentional injuries, and in fact, many times unintentional injuries are due to mental disorder, for instance, ADHD. The last point is that in many countries, we have a decline of infectious disease, fortunately. And so in a close future, mental and behavioral disorder will become in the first position, and this is already the case in Occidental countries. Concerning the resource of child and adolescent mental health services, we have no solid data, but we know that in most countries, whether they are developed or in low and middle income countries, there is fewer money that is invested as in other disease. And this can be explained in many ways. First, there is a long opposition between mental disorder, disease of the mind, and disease of the body. This comes from an old dualistic position in Occidental philosophy, but you can find that also in most countries today. Another thing is that in many countries, people consider that mental disorder cannot be treated, and if they can be treated, this is not by physicians, this is by priest, by the family, or by a teacher. And this is the reason why politicians often are reluctant to invest money in child and adolescent psychiatry, while it is shown that it is a good investment because in the short, middle, and long term, child and adolescent mental health problems cost a lot. Now, what should be the organization of a mental health service in a country? We have a good idea about that. And on my opinion, the countries that are the most advanced about that are Anglo-American and Northern European countries. In these countries, you have several steps to deal with mental health problems. For the most severe patient, you have highly specialist services, like for cancer, for AIDS, or for myocardial infarction. For less severe patients, you have multidisciplinary team, and after specialists in the community, and of course, primary care practitioner, whether they are nurse, social worker, or general practitioner. So this is not very complex, this is common sense. And so the real question is why do not we do that in all countries? This is the real question, and I propose to you to think a little bit about that. This is the question of the way forward. On my point of view, the first point is that as professionals in child and adolescent psychiatry or mental health, we are not very clear about what is related to psychiatry and what is related to mental health. And because of that, many politicians are afraid that psychiatrists could deal with all the kids, that psychiatrists could give pills to everybody. And in a way, they are right about that. You know that in some countries at the moment, about 10% of kids receive some stimulants for attention deficit and hyperactivity disorder, and this is the real problem. So we have to think about what is related to medicine, to psychiatry, and what is related to politicians and to the way to organize a society. Data are mostly available for psychiatric disease. Papers, research, mainly are done in schizophrenia, autism, and in the most severe and objective and medical problem. So we have now a good amount of knowledge in psychiatry. Nevertheless, we have problem of generalizability of results, because most of this research have been done in Occidental country, and you know that the cultural aspects are very important in medicine and in particular in psychiatry and in child and adolescent psychiatry. This is the first point which interests you, obviously. The second point is that the treatments, the care that are proposed in research paper most often are not sustainable. They are very expensive, and even the richest country cannot provide this treatment for their kids. And so we are in a somewhat double-bind situation where we should give very expensive treatment to our kids, and we love our kids, and on the other side, this is not possible because we have no money about that. The second point is concerning psychiatric disease, who should treat? We have many specialties in psychiatry. We have psychologists, psychiatrists, nurses, social workers, etc. And we should also be clear about who should treat which patient in order to optimize the care we can provide to our youth. This is about psychiatry. About mental health, on my point of view, the situation is very different. Psychiatry is an area of medicine. Mental health is an area of society. Mental health interests everybody in the society. Everybody can help. Everybody can be a caregiver. Family, village, school, peers, even priest, why not? And of course, social worker, nurse, GPs, and psychiatrists. And so, in order to optimize mental health services, we have to do an inventory of care that are available. And this is the reason why we shouldn't speak about low and middle resource countries about child and adolescent mental health. We should speak about different resource countries, because you have some countries where there is not enough money, but there are different resources in the family, in the community. In many Occidental countries, for instance, the grandparents cannot deal anymore with their little children. In your country, perhaps this is not the case, and so perhaps you have a resource that we do not have anymore. And you should be aware about that. And the problem is that there is no or very few research about this point. And based on what is psychiatry and what is mental health, national mental health and psychiatry policy should be designed by our politicians. And to help them with that, we have to do research and we have to do training. And in the international association, we are now doing a lot about training. First, we have done a MOOC, a massive open online course about the essential of child and adolescent psychiatry across the world. We have designed this course with professors who do not come exclusively from Occidental countries. They come from all over the planet, and this is important because of the cultural issues. This MOOC is made of small videos of about 10 to 20 minutes, which tackle all the different points of psychiatry and mental health. And this MOOC can be interesting for nurses, for GPs, for social workers, teachers, and why not parents, because we need to have a common culture about psychiatry. This is a very important point about unstigmatization of mental disorder, which is our main enemy. And if you want to know more about child and adolescent psychiatry, we have an e-textbook, a high-level textbook with about 40 chapters. And at the moment they are in English, but most of them are translated in French, Spanish, and even Russian. And Cambodia is, of course, welcome if you want to translate chapters. And I didn't say it, but the MOOC at the moment is in English, but soon it will be translated in 6 languages. About research, because you live in a particular setting, you have to evaluate your care. You have to do your own research. The main point then is to publish research. You know that it is very difficult, there is a hard competition to publish research, and this is very bad for child and adolescent psychiatry because of this competition. People who have different experience of child and adolescent psychiatry cannot give this experience to other clinicians, and we are losing some clinical, how to say that in English, diversity, you know. There is biological diversity, and there is also clinical diversity. And at the moment, because there is an hegemony of Occidental research on child and adolescent psychiatry, we are losing a clinical diversity in treatment. So it is your responsibility to do research. And what we propose to you in ZIACAPAP is a website, an archive website, when you can submit your work, and we only evaluate the ethical issues. If it is ethically acceptable, your paper will be accepted and everybody on the planet will be able to read it. This is a question of preservation of clinical diversity. This is all what I wanted to say. Now it's up to us and you to work and to go the way forward. Thank you for your attention.